Welcome to Sagas, a channel where we science the shit out of your favorite anime, games, and all sorts of other stuff. I'm your host Iker, and today we're bringing you another Dragon Ball Legends video. In today's video, we're going to be showcasing and analyzing the two new sparking characters released in the 1.14 Legends Rising banner, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan and One Punch Blueku, in order to determine whether you should spend big, bargain hunt, or save on this banner. But before we do, sit back and prepare for the drop. Hit it! First, let's talk about animation. Let's begin by saying Blueku is sexy. The man was animated by Whis himself, it feels like. Every pose, strike art, blue sequence, and even his green charge up are just flawlessly executed. In terms of fashion balls, we give this character a 7 out of 7 Dragon Balls. I mean, wow. Just wow. As for the art cards he brings, he has a blue card that is considered a strike type and therefore carries its strengths and weaknesses. It's a good thing because it means buffing his blue damage is a matter of simply buffing his strike, but it's also a bad thing because it means he trades that for a priority at range, meaning regular old Ki Blasts will counter him when he's far away enough. His green card, on the other hand, powers up that blue card, which, as seen here, can lead to some crazy high numbers. As for his mix, he brings a balanced hand of 1 strike and 1 blast. His stats, though, which are seen on screen now, are simply awesome. He is top 5 in every defensive category, a feat not even Android 17 can boast of. His strike is top 10 and blast is number 18th overall. All around, his stats are some of, if not the most impressive in the game, with the major exception of Ki Restore Speed, where he has an abysmal 1,779 or Ki Restored of 10 every in-game count. But as important as Ki Restore is, this isn't where this Goku falls short the most. To understand his shortcomings, let's first ask ourselves, what do the current Z and S plus tier characters all have in common? The answer is insane all damage or defensive modifiers in-game. Not base stats, but all damage modifiers. In-game, or all damage modifiers, are incredibly more potent than base stat buffs when trying to affect actual damage output. So while base stats are an important aspect to what makes a character good or not, they can never come at the expense of a solid in-game all damage buffs. For comparison, Cell receives an all damage buff of 40% more blast damage against Super Saiyans. As an all damage buff, a 40% increase to blast here will see a 40% increase of overall damage when using blast cards. To the contrary, a 40% increase to our base stats won't necessarily, and in fact will likely be, far less than the 40% that went in. Blueku's unique and main abilities, seen on screen now, are just too specific and situational. Let's start with easy criticisms of why that's the case. Increased damage against Broly? Broly's literally fallen off the meta cliff in viability and popularity. We think this is a perfect example of too little too late. Drawing a special card when your allies die? Though it can be a lethal one-shot if it lands, it still costs 50 Ki to use and is an inferior method for drawing powerful blues to the ultimate card route units like Super Saiyan 2 Gohan take, because then their ultimate costs are reduced to 20 Ki for that card. Now for the more complicated criticisms of Crisis Toolkits in general. They have one major drawback that they're always trying to overcome with stat bonuses. They necessarily come when you're alone, and often when you're at a disadvantage. We asked several top players and the consensus was there's almost no stat increase that would make a player with equal skill want to fight a 2v1. There's just too much benefit to being able to switch in and out. With that said, sometimes it happens, and it's nice to have when it does. But a Crisis ability focused on a high-cost blue when your Ki Restore is already so low, also a blue that requires large investment from green cards, when those very same green cards are increasing in cost, makes this very situational and difficult to set up. Note, you could save your main here for Ki recovery, but then your hand is cluttered with 2 blue cards that can't be comboed off each other and not enough Ki to use them, and we don't really like that, not one bit. Ultimately, Goku's toolkit turns him into a one-punch man who, when stacking his green card, buffs to his special, and his crisis buffs can deliver a heavy blow to unsuspecting opponents, but overall, he'll just be at a disadvantage. Equipment choices are going to be pretty straightforward. we want equipment that buffs ki restore and strike damage for buffing both our special and his strongest attack. This makes the You'll Pay gold equipment from the Nappa event a must-have, as it buffs strike attack and ki restore speed. Then the Angry Super Saiyan gear from the Frieza event that provides buffs to strike base stats and ki restore is a great choice as well. Together, this mitigates some of Goku's weaknesses and simultaneously strengthens his strengths. As far as Z ability goes, Goku brings a single stat buff to strike defense for Saiyans. We like the percentage, we also like the tag that it strengthens, and we like the stat choice itself, but we're not sure how much longer single stat buffs can be relevant. Overall, Goku's amazing stats, synergy with Saiyans, strike focus damage, and base stats make him the best blue character we have in the game, but considering the state of blues in general, this isn't something to write home about. He's a solid character for the Saiyan bench and can replace EX Goku in situations where you plan to run a blue a lot, or if you're already deeply invested in strike buffs and fear that EX Goku's Z ability is running into some heavy diminishing returns. However, be aware that his ki restore and lack of all damage buffs means he really shouldn't be the centerpiece of your team, and with a Crisis Toolkit focus, he doesn't do much to support the team in general. We use him mostly for his sex appeal. Did I mention we love this guy's animations? Those animations make this character very fun to use, so we don't blame anyone who feels like this is a must-have for them. Overall though, we're confident that for everything we said above, he is an A-tier unit, but we're not going to argue too vigorously with anyone who thinks that he's S tier either. So should you spend big, bargain hunt, or save? We think this is a case for bargain hunting for sure. You should hope you get him in discount summons and maybe spend a bit on Chrono Crystal sales for him, but just don't go nuts. Next up, we've got everyone's favorite and the star of this banner, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Now, our spiky-haired pubescent hero who saved the Earth from Cell after watching a robot who loves nature get his head chopped off and crushed, #RobotLove, #motives, is probably why you're here. Gohan's Fashion Balls rating is a 5 out of 7. He has a solid looking green card and looks fairly cool overall, but his other animations aren't as satisfying. Yeah, not really feeling his ultimate or his strike arts, but maybe Blueku spoiled me, who knows. As far as art cards go, in general, they're a strength of Gohan's. He brings 2 strike cards which play well into his stat focus as a melee character, and his Super Kamehameha buffs all impact damage, which are red and yellow cards. And his green is great, buffing all damage inflicted by 15%. As far as overall stats are concerned, Gohan isn't far behind his father in base stats, and he has a much more respectable 11.6 ki restored per count. Trust me, 1 to 2 ki per count makes a huge difference in combos. We'd much rather have a character who specializes in being the best at a few important stats than having someone who's all around good except for the important things. So far we like what we see, but like our analysis with Blueku, it won't be as impressive base stats that seal his placement as powerful in this game. It's going to be his all damage buffs in game, so let's check those out. As previously stated, he's off to a great start in the all damage buff department with his green and blue cards, but let's see if the trend continues with his unique and main abilities as well. As far as main abilities go, drawing an Ultimate Arts card like this is pretty awesome. It's 20 ki that hits like a 50 ki truck. While we're not a fan of its 100% reduction to health at the moment, we think if how healing is handled changes and becomes more meta with Buu Saga regeneration characters, this could keep Gohan relevant even if his stats are power creeped a bit. Next we have his unique abilities, an area where this character truly shines. Awakening Power increases his strike damage by 15% for each defeated ally when Gohan hits the field, as well as a sizable ki recovery boost to boot. This is a crisis ability done well, and we really love it, but where Gohan really shines is after being hit. His all damage is buffed by either 10 or 50%, depending on if he's above or below 50% health. The one above 50% stacks with itself and can occur multiple times, but the one below 50% activates once and stays with you the rest of the fight. Both of these are powerful in different ways, so make sure you play around with them and don't squander the buffs when you have them. As far as equipment goes, the Leave My Dad Alone gold equipment found during the Raditz event is a must-have as it buffs his ki restore and both attacks. The second options aren't quite as clear-cut. You could go with the equipment No! from the Raditz event for its blast and special move buffs, but remember it also has a wasted slot of plus damage to Piccolo. Or you could choose this key, It's Gotta Be, gold equipment for hybrids acquired a few PvP seasons ago for its blast and strike stat buffs. It also buffs critical, but that's not a priority here. If we had to choose, we'd choose this one, since critical can play a bigger role than Piccolo damage, but seriously, don't worry too much about this and go with whatever has the best stats in the first 2 slots. As far as Z abilities go, Gohan has a sizable single stat buff to strike attack for hybrids. This is fine, but The aspect of Z abilities that hurts Gohan most is the fact that he only gets the Super Saiyan 2 tag, not the Super Saiyan tag, despite clearly having gone Super Saiyan 1 first. This means he won't receive buffs from units like Super Vegeta or any other units in the future that may buff Super Saiyans. This is definitely going to hurt him and his fit with teams in the future, but I guess that's tomorrow's problem. Overall, Gohan is everything we could have hoped for. He is possibly the best damage in the game, makes hybrid teams viable, and is a purple which counters the current green dominance and is equipped with amazing all damage buffs up and down his ability screen. The only thing holding him back are the current limitations of the hybrid tag and the lack of Z ability support. And while it's not his fault, his heal regen debuff falls flat due to the way healing works currently and the lack of popular healers in this meta. Overall, we think he's a solid unit that can be played on either the hybrid squad or PPR squad with Cell and 17, which is why we are confident in our thought that he is perfectly at home with other beat sticks in the game, such as Perfect Cell and S+, at least until his debuff changes the way the game is played in the future, which may then warrant a promotion to Z tier. Maybe? So should you spend big, bargain hunt, or save? We think Gohan is someone worth breaking the bank for. He's an iconic and fun character with the kind of power that makes this game satisfying to play. We also think he'll age okay, though that largely depends on the future of healing as previously discussed. But that's going to do it for us today, folks. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Spend, Bargain Hunt, or Save, where we provide you with a detailed breakdown and analysis of the new characters so you can determine how much you should dedicate to getting them. If you enjoyed our content, go ahead and United States smash that subscribe button and give the video a colossal like. Until next time though, take it easy. We'll talk to you soon.